some of this has to be done online and through Zoom and all. Um, and then there's a step of actually reaching out to people who know what's going on with you that you can actually talk about. And then there's also reaching out to the professionals, both on like people like us that you have a connection with, but also a number of emergency services. So if you help people sort of walk through those steps, and also to ask them how likely do you think you are to do this, and that as things are starting to happen, and work through their barriers to sort of using these steps, it can be very effective. The last piece I want to just mention is it's what they call counseling on access to lethal means. So here's another statistic that blew me away. So for people, they did a study of people who made suicide attempts and survived, and asked them how long was it between when you had the thoughts of committing suicide and when you actually acted. And about half said it happened within 10 minutes. So there is a group of people that once they get the thought, they're acting. Okay? And what is often a life or death factor for that is whether they have access to means that are really lethal. So the most lethal of lethal means are firearms. Okay? So when you identify people at risk, part of the assessment and part of the counseling is, how would you plan on doing this, and do you have access to it? And again, particularly with firearms, if you can get somebody to agree to even temporarily store them somewhere else, lock them up, it can be the difference between life or death. Because the other thing about these suicidal episodes is that they pass. So for many people, and I'm not saying everybody, there's this acute moment where they may be very distressed, but there's this acute moment where you have the thought and you start to act. If you can get through that by using that safety planning that we talked about, or also by not restricting access to the means that are most lethal, you might get somebody through it and they will survive. And you'll have an opportunity to work with them going forward. Okay?